Hello and welcome to the Mariana Dalto Show, the podcast where small business owners share their stories, insights, and strategies for success. Welcome to today's show. I'm so excited to have this show for you guys. You're gonna learn new things that could really bring your business to the next level. Our guest today is Alane Boyd. Alane, she is the co-founder of Arvo, a knowledge-based software company. She's also the co-founder of Workday Ninja, where she specializes in AI and automation to streamline workflows and enhance client efficiency. Her work has helped clients reduce operating costs by 20%. Alane has been recognized among the top leaders 40 under 40. Her software company was voted best tools for remote work in 2022, and she was the finalist in the top companies to watch in 2020. Welcome, Alane, to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for that intro.
Yeah, I love it. There's so much success already. Just started with the conversation. Well, I'm excited to have you in our show today. Small business owners are always looking for new insights to grow their businesses. So really excited to have you. So before we start, can you share a little bit about your journey in the tech world? What inspired you to start your first business, your first company?
Yeah, I guess I would be considered a serial entrepreneur, and I've had a lot of not successful companies along the way, and I've had some really good wins too. And my first company I started shortly after college, and just I repped. I was an engineer. I did not like engineering, and I had made a lot of friends in the industry, and so I made relationships. And I said, "Hey, can I rep your products?" And so I had about 5 companies that I repped their products and went to the cities and engineers to get those in. And I realized I really just did not like that industry. And so my next one was when I met my co-founder and business partner, and we started a social media agency for car dealerships. And we built 2 SaaS platforms, so 2 software platforms within the company, and grew that for about 10, 11 years before I sold it.
Okay. And then now you're into a new business, right?
Yes, I started this one in what I call retirement. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't think business owners, once you've done something, I just don't think we can sit around anymore. We need to be creator. We're creators, so we need to be creating. And so in retirement, I relaxed for a couple years, and then I just started getting bored. So this is my retirement company. That's not, I'm working as hard as I was in my other company now, but I just love it. I was talking to my aunt yesterday, and she's like, "You're just so busy. You're traveling all around." And I was like, "I am having so much fun." And that's, what I love that I built for myself, is that I can really enjoy the work that I do.
Yeah, we evolve, right? As business owners, as an entrepreneurs, we evolve, we learn things while we are growing our businesses, and we find other things that we like. We find the gaps in the market where we know that we can provide value and we can really
Mm.
help them. And that's where probably you found yourself after a while. I'm like, okay, I think there's something that I really love to do, and this is something that can help people, and why not to do it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I didn't have a passion for my other company. And so I always say, if you are ready for the next stage of your life and your career, whatever it is, then you can leave that behind. You can sell it if you own the business. And so that's where, I didn't have a passion for that. I was ready to let go. And this business is completely different. If I wanted to keep doing what I was doing before, I would have kept that business. And so this is a nice pairing of, I saw an opportunity, like you mentioned, thought I had a solution to solve it, and what I really was passionate and had purpose around.
So then what motivated you? Like, what was the driver to start to focus on AI and automation, maybe in your career? Because you probably use that even in your prior businesses, but then now you like the focus is different, right? But what was the driver for that? And I know AI is so big and it keep growing and evolving, but what was your main focus there?
So I was thinking about what I really enjoyed that I built at my previous company when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And One of the reasons I got acquired is because I had such a well-oiled machine. And we had a small team that was producing a ton of work. I mean, just social media post alone, we did about 2,000 per week for
Mm.
our clients. And so we were producing a lot of work, and that was just one piece. Social media was just one piece of it. And so I looked back and I'm like, wow, we just had a great workplace, a great culture, and we had systems built in. We had a knowledge base so that we weren't eating up each other's time with questions, that we had a resource to go to. And so, like, all these things were kind of coming together like, wow, what I built was really amazing. And I really enjoyed the impact that it made. And you're right, we were using automation back then. And sometimes the automation that we built was out of frustration, right? Something wasn't working right. How do we improve this? How can we automate it? People are expensive. If we keep solving the problem with people, that resource gets more and more and more expensive and doesn't necessarily solve the problems.
Mhm.
And so I would build automation sequences like my favorite one was when our sales team marked a deal as one, that immediately kicked off new client onboarding. And we didn't have to have an admin do manual work anymore to onboard an employee. So that admin, we actually were able to put in a different area that was more effective than the 2 hours she was spending for every client onboarding. And so the clients were really excited too, because they weren't waiting around. And so I thought, all of these things, maybe we can do this for other companies. And I
Mhm.
remember naively thinking early on, like, do other companies need this? Not thinking that this was, maybe it was just a fluke, that this is the reason I got acquired. They wanted to put my systems in place with our competitor. And it turns out, we do come, like, my expertise isn't your expertise, when we're looking at things. And so I started to build the company from there, and then incorporated AI a couple of years ago as it was becoming more and more popular. And how can we use this to pair with automation and improve people's lives at work?
Yeah. And sometimes what happens is like you think, well, I'm sure every business has this. This is kind of like a no-brainer, but a lot of companies you would I'm sure you know that it's just like they don't have this kind of system and organization in place where really save them time and even give them consistency on the daily activities that needs to be done through in the beginning, like just from getting a lead all the way down to delivering, whatever work they do, right? So I face that a lot when I talk to people and my coaching clients where there's no systems in place, and these can save you so much time and money in many ways. So tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about what challenges did you face in the beginning when you're trying to even set up your own systems, and even when you started to applying AI, which it evolves so fast, so it's just so hard sometimes to catch up. But what challenges did you face, and how did you overcome those challenges?
So one of the things that whenever you're starting out and you don't have a process in place because you haven't done the process yet, enough times to really refine. And so, for me, I don't like being in that nitty gritty part. Like, I like to be more on the strategy. Here's my goal that I'm trying to achieve. And in the beginning, when you are a solopreneur, that's hard because you're doing both. And so
Hmm.
that's one of the things that I found as a challenge. And I always recommend, even if you are a solopreneur, using a project management system. Even if it's, something like Trello, or, some people use Asana or Monday or ClickUp, whatever it is, use something, because you're going to get to the point where you can delegate to somebody else eventually, or even for you to know the process. And so for me, that was, the challenge in the beginning. Is I was so used to I had a 125 person team at my previous company, that I forgot what it's like to be a solopreneur, because for
Hmm.
10 years I had a team that I could go to, people I could go to. So I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to do it all now. But I stuck with it. And now, I started to do that. It's just like, okay, what's my process? I'm going to iterate it. And then I could hire a virtual assistant to help delegate to eventually, and have them do things. And now I've got some bigger systems in place. And then with AI, one of the things that I had to learn is not everybody is in the same place with their use of AI. Their prompt writing is different. Their
Hmm.
use cases are different. And Even for me, sometimes I'm lagging behind on some things because we're all busy. We're all trying to do a million things in a day. And one of the things that became helpful for my team and I is when we come up with a way to use AI, we put it in Slack and we have a chat about it. That way we can all learn and improve. And sometimes that's even recording a Loom video. Hey, look at this
Mhm.
prompt I just did. This is the what I got out of it, and this is how I improved it. And that was like, oh my God, like then those ideas really just started to get faster. And even if you're a solopreneur and you don't have that, you have friends that are using AI, and you could have a group of you together, even if it's just like you and two other people where you're brainstorming, you're sharing ideas. Because if you're working in a silo on this, you're gonna miss things. It's impossible to know every idea out there. And it is moving
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, I mean, collaboration is key here, right? You can have like even other business partners or like, you know, people in your environment, in your ecosystem that can really help you stay up to date with trends, being
Mm-hmm.
AI, being automation, being anything, related to the business that you can help your clients, right?
Right, exactly.
So what are the most common inefficiencies that you've seen so far in businesses that you have helped them with automation? Like really the automation solves some of their problems. I want to get
Most
some examples because sometimes people are like, well, I don't really know what they mean by automation. So maybe sometimes examples will give some
Yeah, it's something
clarity.
simple. I think we think of automation like I mentioned the CRM one with a one deal
Hmm.
and it's not a complex automation, but for a small business that can feel hard to build. So something simple is going back to the project management system and creating templates. And so for, let's say you send out a weekly newsletter. What are the steps that you need for consistency, whether you're doing it or you have an assistant helping you, and outlining, a main task. This is the main task. We're going to do a newsletter. What are all the things that need to get done to ship that newsletter out? And that can be a form of automation because you have a template that can be on a recurring basis. So as soon as this one is checked off, we've done everything we need to do. It automatically creates the next task with all the subtasks for next week, automatically assigns it to the person that's responsible. So even something simple like a recurring task is a form of automation, and you have it from a template. A lot of times businesses don't have consistency. They have the main thing saying, we're going to do a newsletter this week, but everybody does it differently. And if you have turnover, the next person's not going to know everything that needs to happen. And so there's no single source of truth. There's no way for them to know how to execute on it. And even for you, like for me, I'm going to miss things. I can't remember every detail of every single thing that happens. I need that checklist so I don't forget. What
Yeah,
email
so
does
it's
this
it's
need to
where
come
you build
through?
the SOPs, the standard, standard procedures, right?
Yeah.
And then when you have, when you need to onboard people, then everything is organized in one place. So it starts with you. When you start hiring or outsourcing, then you just share that. Then if you
Yes.
have it automated, then it helps you to keep you and your team on track, right?
Right.
So how does the automation connects with the CRM? Is there a way, do you connect those? Like, because you talk about the project management tool, which it's super important, but how, because CRM is another tool for me that it's key for any business owner. So how do you keep them connected in a way that it gives you efficiencies at work?
So it depends on your CRM and the capabilities, but one of the ways that we pull things together, and if they don't have a native integration, is using something like a Zapier or a make.com. And that way you can say, hey, this is the trigger. If you're using a CRM and this is a one deal, then I automatically want to kick off in Trello the new client onboarding tasks. And that's a simple one-to-one trigger with an action that can happen. But there's other actions that can happen. So new client onboarding and Trello happens, but what about it automatically drafting a welcome email in Gmail for you? It automatically creates an asset folder in Dropbox. Like we can have multiple things happening at the same time just from that one deal in the CRM.
And then, so when you talk about AI, is like I mean, I use a project management tool, but I don't use AI with that tool, but maybe I should. So I know that my CRM has AI, but I haven't used it in project management. So I wonder, so when you talk about AI and automation, it plays in both type of systems? Is
Yeah, and my favorite way, if we're talking about a CRM, because we all need sales, we're all business owners, right? So sales is a huge piece. And if you're a company that has to create proposals,
mm-hmm,
oh my gosh, the time suck and energy of going into a proposal is awful. And so my favorite way is whenever you're using, and it all goes back to using software. So I want to take a step back, is when we're talking about automation, AI, we are talking about software. You cannot automate people. So you need to have software backing you. It is, I promise you, it is worth the $40 a month paying for the software versus paying for your time or somebody else's time to manually do these things. So having some core pieces of software, having a CRM and having a project management system.
mm-hmm,
So in your CRM, you have different stages to move,
mm-hmm.
right? You've got your first stage is you've made contact, and then you've done a meeting, and then you've got a proposal stage. Oh my gosh, the proposal stage. Well, my favorite use of AI and automation is once it goes into proposal stage is based on your meeting notes and about the company. The meeting notes are super important because this is what you've discussed with the client. It automatically generates a proposal and you don't
What?
have to do it. Yes.
Wow.
That is my favorite way. And it saves hours of time. I mean, the average person spends 2 hours on a proposal. And with
Yeah.
automation, it comes down to 2 minutes. Now, you might want to edit it. You know, there might be some things to change, but we're talking about a huge reduction in time. And I've even seen the change in me where I'm like, who can I create a proposal for now? Like it's exciting and it makes it so fun because it's taken out that tedious, redundant part. And I use AI, I use Grain to record my calls with potential clients. So AI is already creating the call summary and the call notes for me.
Mm-hmm.
Those go into my CRM. And when I click create proposal, it is taking that information from our call and creating a proposal based on the services I provide. So it's not creating
Mm-hmm.
something, out in left field. It's creating it just super authentic to the person's needs and the solutions I provide.
Okay, so this is so interesting because yeah, that's one example that can really help people optimize their time, which is that's what every business owner is struggling with, right?
Mhm.
So when we talked about and I introduced in the beginning that you were able to help clients reduce operating costs by 20%. What
Mhm.
were some of the key drivers that you helped them implement in order for that to happen? Because people are like interested to learn about how you reduce costs. So what are the things that specifically for those business owners really help them?
Yeah, I'm going to sound so like a broken record right now,
But it's the
but
same, yeah.
yeah, no, no, no. Um, the core piece that I see every company underutilize is using a project management system.
Mm-hmm.
That really needs to be the core of the company because if not, most companies time suck as slacker teams. They're just constantly chatting for status updates, where are we at on things? Hey, I'm not sure how to do this. Can you look at this? I need help. This is where that time suck really happens is the person doesn't know the next steps. And so whenever we're using a project management system and we build out a workflow, an actual workflow. So, how does the work flow in our company? And with specific tasks that go along with the work, who's responsible of doing that? That's where we see a huge reduction. I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
that time, if you save one person a day on average 30 minutes, and that's
Mm-hmm.
usually what we're seeing. And you're going, man, 30 minutes doesn't seem like that impactful. You spread that out over a year, and that is a month of saved time per person. So you have a team of three, you're getting 3 months worth of work just by having a better system in place. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where our core starts with is how are you using your project management system? And
Mm-hmm.
we start working with the operations there. And then, okay, now that we've got a good core here, how do we tie in the CRM? How do we tie in? Maybe we do, I use Slack still. My favorite way of using Slack in an automation is a round of one deal. And we want to be excited that we're bringing on a new client. So our team gets notified in a Slack channel and a new sales Slack channel, like, hey, this just happened. And so, how do these systems all work together? Because we're not a one software kind of company anymore, right? Like if you think about your day, how many software platforms do you use?
Oh,
So
yeah.
many, right? And we need those to work together instead of manually moving data from one place to another place. We need these to be more seamless. So that would be the step 2 that we work with the company is core project management system. Second step is how do these software platforms work together?
So I hear like, so if you're a solopreneur, I think the basics are project management and CRM. Then
Mhm.
once you have a team, then you add Slack or any other communication tool to keep everything flowing without, miscommunications, right?
Right. Yeah. I have a team in the morning, we overlap hours in the morning and she puts everything in ClickUp, but she likes to also just say like, hey, this is a quick thing. Like, she likes to give me like a little summary, even though I have it in ClickUp, she likes to do it like that. And that's fine with me. But everything is still in its place in ClickUp for me. And Slack can be more of an urgent thing. Like I had a team member, she likes to work in the late afternoon and she's like, hey, we've exceeded our credits on this software. I can keep working on it if you're able to upgrade the account. So like that was an urgent thing. And yeah, you know what? Actually, I can jump in there and upgrade the account for you. So Slack becomes, hey, this is urgent. And everything in the project management has a specific place with a task so that all the status updates, all of the information, all of the things actually are in there. And then Slack, you might only get, I get like 3 Slacks a day from a team of 14.
And then do you, from a communication standpoint, is there another system that you recommend besides Slack? And I ask this all because I don't use Slack yet, but the way I communicate with my team is with WhatsApp. And I
I knew
know
you were
this is
going to
not
say
the
that.
right way probably, but that's right now, how I communicate it. Because with emails and the way I use project management, I don't communicate like, okay, I need someone to look at my message right away. So then that's how I use WhatsApp. But is there other ones that you recommend? Or maybe Slack is your tool and this is the one that you recommend overall?
So we always see where companies start with WhatsApp. That's why I started laughing when you said that. That's so common. And then we do see, and I say Slack, it can be any, Teams is another popular one for chat, like, having a chat tool. But I want to emphasize so much that I do not recommend chatting people all day, whether it's in
No.
WhatsApp or Slack or Teams. It really needs to go into a correct place, or everybody is always on urgent priorities. They don't know what the priority is. And have you ever had to scroll back through WhatsApp to see what somebody
No.
said, 10 days ago? Like it's not fun, right?
No.
And there's no accountability built into that. There's no way to assign people with a due date. And so, I'm a big advocate for moving conversations out of chats into an actual place where we can see an index of what's happened, right? Like a history
Yeah.
of things assigned. But if it's urgent or things like that, then definitely having a chat. But I definitely see teams
A lot of
start. So you're right where you need to be right now.
absolutely. And then now so how do you manage, client expectations when implementing, these technologies? Because maybe people, they understand, okay, I got it. I gotta use this system and this system. But a lot of people get nervous. They're not like familiar how to use technology. They get overwhelmed. How do you manage that? So then they are at peace when they're like, okay, I got it. I can work with Alane, but
Yes, there's definitely a certain point that a client is ready to be open to something like this. Uh, and it's a journey, right? Like a smaller company may not have enough pain points to really dive into this methodology. And that's
mhm,
okay. You're where you're at, but eventually you get to where you are burnt out. You
mhm.
can't keep up with the amount of messages and chats you're getting. There's inconsistency. And so for when we start working with a client, they've hit those pain points and they are ready for a change. Now, that doesn't mean they're not scared, and, don't give us any, hesitations. And the biggest thing that we really emphasize is starting training. And we don't need to go company-wide at first. We're going to get a couple of champions. We're going to get them using it, seeing how it works. Start with just a team and get things going in there. That way, it's not everybody all at once and disaster and chaos happens. Like, let's get a couple of champions in there. And we've built out free training. So our main project management systems we work with are ClickUp, Asana, and Monday. So we've even created free basic trainings for those three that they can use in their company. They can share it with any team member, and that helps give a baseline so that people feel more confident going in. Because when you start using a project management system, it is scary. Like there's things when I had to switch from Asana, I built my previous company using Asana. And then we started off with that here at my new company, and then we switched to ClickUp. There's just some things that ClickUp does better for this type of company. And it was hard for me. And this is what I do for a living. And I was like, we have got to create a better training system, even for our own team, but our clients are going to feel the same way, whether they're switching from one to another or they're starting brand new. It is very overwhelming. And so we just do a lot of training and a lot of hand holding in the beginning while they get their legs and see. And as soon as they start seeing that the time that gets easier and the consistency, because when you don't have consistency, you have mistakes and your time gets driven towards fires every day instead of moving work forward. And as soon as they start seeing, hey, my day's just moving along, I'm pretty happy here, they become really big advocates, and then we can start rolling it out into other teams and other departments.
So at what point business owners start feeling those pain points where they need to start thinking really and taking these technologies to the next level, or even getting those technologies? And what I'm saying at what point is in what revenue, like how much revenue do they need to start making to start feeling those pain points where you're like, yeah, you're ready?
Yeah. So revenue wise, it can depend on what the company's sales are. But you could see like maybe around getting close to the $1 million mark. And then team size, they start definitely feeling it around 10 members. And they may not feel the pain enough, but they're starting to feel it. And then by the time they're hitting 20, 25 employees, they're like feeling hopeless at that point. They let it go too long. So it kind of depends on the business owner at their level of pain and their time. I found that founders that have families and children, they're feeling the pressure because they don't get to just work like a mid-20s person where they can just work themselves all the time. People in a different stage of life, they want to get out of office. They want to go to their kids' tennis match or football game, and they don't want to have to check their phone. So the stage of life is definitely in there. And then revenue, that 1 to 3 million, oh my gosh, they are definitely feeling the pain.
I would have thought maybe like 500,000. I thought that we would be earlier in people in businesses.
They have the pain, but they don't have the budget to take an action.
Okay.
They can figure it out themselves for sure.
Right.
But if they want to have somebody come in and help, usually they're still kind of in the DIY stage, like they want to figure it out.
So I guess, the way I see this is like, okay, if you're under 1 million and you have a small team, for sure, at least start trying having your own project management system, your own CRM. If you got a team, then probably your own communication. And then when you are at 1 million or more, or like a bigger team, then hire someone to help you automate some of the stuff that maybe it hasn't been implemented in your business while you were using those tools. So at that point, people are already familiar with the tools because they're using it already, but they don't have it automated in a way that is efficient, I guess.
Yes, that is the perfect way to explain it. And I had a call with a guy last week, and he's been using Monday.com. And he's like, we've got Monday, and I've tried using it, but I just really keep going back to managing all my clients in a spreadsheet. And I was like, oh, that sounds absolutely terrible. And you're doing double work. I said, can you just show me your Monday real quick? And and this is very, very common. Just exactly what you said is they're using it inefficiently. When I looked at his Monday, I said, you're trying to use this as a spreadsheet. No wonder it's easier to use a spreadsheet because you're trying to use this that way. I said, this is a project management system. You can actually build a workflow. You can have statuses, all of these things. You're trying to build a system that already exists into a system that's meant to help you manage the work. And so I think it's perfect, just like you said, where you've started to use these things, you've got some familiarity, and then you're realizing, there's some inefficiency happening here. Maybe I'm not using the tool the best way possible. And so that's the perfect trigger to start these improvements.
I mean, I know that I'm not using it perfectly either. I know that there's so much improvement that I need to do in my own, leveraging my own tools. So I can see other business owners, face it the same. So you wanted to share a few resources for the audience. Can you talk more about those and where we can find them?
Yeah, one of the ways, if you're already using one of these systems, and we have our free um, basic courses that are available for anybody to use. One of the other things is, I've been talking about these project management systems, and it can be really difficult to know which one is the best one to use. And so we have a project management tool selector. So you just answer 11 or 12 questions about how you run your business and what data do you want. And we will actually tell you immediately which one is the best fit for you. And it's because we've done so many engagements, we've really been able to distill that down. So that's a tool. And then one other one is maybe you've made it a little bit further in using the different software, and you've got a CRM, you've got a chat software, and you've got a project management, is what automations could be built that you could be utilizing right now. And so we have a tool that's just a few questions, 8 questions. It takes less than a minute. What software are you currently using? And it will send you a report immediately on 25 automations you could put in your business right now.
And I did that, and it's super helpful. So I encourage people to go. I'm going to put these resources in the show notes. So I'm going to encourage people to go and check out those tools, learn, what you can improve within your business. And then I promise you will get some ideas and things that you can do better. And then if you are ready for, taking to the next step and work with Alane, I will recommend reaching out to her, because it's a game changer for sure to have these type of tools in your business. So thank you so much, Alane, for your time, for your insights, for all the details and things that you share with the audience. I'm sure everyone, will be able to start thinking through and start taking action, at least a little bit here and there, right?
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope so.
All right. So I will, again, put all the resources in the show notes. I will also put the social media links for Alane in case you want to reach out to her as well. And anything else that you want to share, Alane, with the audience?
No, I'd look forward. Please come and find me. I'd love to chat, even if it is just connecting.
Awesome. Well, thank you to our listeners to tuning in. Please do not forget to subscribe and leave a review if you like this episode, and we'll see you next time.